everyone, happy Tuesday. Hope you're all having a great day so far. I'm super excited to talk to you about this topic today. We're going to be talking about shifting into a mindset of service, shifting out of that mindset of working and shifting into a mindset of service. And we're going to talk about some ways that you can do that. But this is a super, super powerful game changer because it really changes the lens through which you see what you do, whether it's personally or professionally. Service is a soul-based concept. Work I see more as an ego-based concept, and we're going to talk about that. So first wanted to share a personal story with you. The idea for this Facebook Live actually was prompted by a conversation that I had with my 8-year-old a couple weeks ago. I was sitting at the kitchen island doing I was trying to write some content and doing some other things that I wanted to work on, and I used the word work, and it was interesting that what I said to the kids, they were in the family room, which is the room adjacent to the kitchen. I said, could you guys please be a little quieter? I asked them a couple times, and I said, I'm trying to work. And my 8-year-old jumped in and she said, Mom, you don't work, you help people. And I stopped and I thought about that because, she's right. I never use the word work to describe what I do. And that's because I don't feel like I work. And it's not because I don't put in the time. It's not because I don't put in the effort. I could put in 40 hours in any given week of effort, and I truly don't feel like I work because everything I do is backed by service. And that is a totally different mindset that it energizes me, it makes me feel alive, it makes me feel invigorated, it fuels me. As much as I pour into it, it feeds me back. And it's really it's viewing what I do as service that was the game changer for me. And I can show you guys how you can do that even in your personal life. Work, just think about the word work for a second. If you say the word work, you hear the word work, it just feels energetically heavy, doesn't it? It feels like you're coming from a place of obligation. It's an ego-based concept, so it comes from a place of recognizing lack or wanting to close the gap between where you are and where you want to be, or fulfilling a need, or how do I minimize the lack. It's not a very energizing word. The word service, on the other hand, has a very different feel to it, doesn't it? It's a soul-based concept. Service is backed with love, it's backed with kindness, it's backed with benevolence, it's backed with humanitarianism, it's backed with a commitment to helping yourself or helping others. And since it's backed with those virtues, there's no limit on the amount of energy that we can put behind it. It's backed by adding value to the world. And we don't have to be we don't have to be starting a foundation in order to add value to the world. We can do this even through small scale efforts in our everyday lives. And we'll talk about that. Service has the idea behind it of how does this enrich my life? How does it enrich other people's lives? And it's important to keep in mind too that being of service to people is not always in the doing. It is often simply in the being. It is about what you embody. It is what is the energy you're casting into the universe. So service doesn't mean hustle. It doesn't mean grind. It doesn't mean crank it out. It doesn't mean work a bazillion hours a day. It just means being in that space where you're connected, that space of connectedness, that space of groundedness, that place where you're hooked into that higher power and drawing from universal energy. An example of this, and I want to talk about what we do in our everyday life because, again, the mindset around this is really all it takes. It's just a mindset shift. It doesn't necessarily necessitate any broad lifestyle shifts. You don't need to overhaul your life in order to go from a place of working into a place of service. An example of this is making dinner. So making dinner is just something that we do. It's this rote exercise we do every day because we have to. Eating is a fact of life. And sometimes, even for people who love to cook like myself, it can feel mundane. It's the same thing over and over. What am I going to make? It's the menu planning, it's the shopping, it's the putting away the groceries, it's the prep, it's the making the meal, it's the cleanup from the meal. And that can be a little repetitive or a little mundane. But when I started to view that more through the lens of service, then all of a sudden it shifts from an obligation to a privilege. So rather than I have to make dinner tonight, I get to make dinner tonight. I get to serve my family. I get to make a nutritious and delicious meal that my family will enjoy. So it all of a sudden becomes a privilege, and it's really all in the reframing. And I try to take a long-term perspective too, that, I'm not always going to have this opportunity to serve my family the way that I serve them today, right? They're not always going to live in my house. They're going to grow up someday and have lives of their own, and I won't be able to serve them then. So rather than viewing this as a task or a chore, I view this as serving them. And the thing too is, you can dig, if you dig really, really deep, you can find this idea of service in more activities than you realize. For example, working out or taking care of yourself or losing weight, efforts around that. How is that? Is that really serving others? Well, maybe at first glance you might think, well, you know what? It's not really serving others. It's serving myself. But understand that serving yourself is the first step. That is a stepping stone to serving others. So by taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you're putting yourself in a better position to be able to take care of others, to be able to serve others, to be able to come from that higher place and hook into your personal power and really bring your best into the world. So I'd encourage each of you, as you're going through your day, dig really deep and say, how can I find the service in this? How can I find the service in this activity? Serving others, I say, is really the highest form of kindness. Serving others, anytime we're adding value to the world, anytime we're enriching our lives, enriching other people's lives, that is the highest form of kindness, right? I mean, that's a place, we're coming at it from a soul-based place. We're coming at it from compassion and kindness and acceptance, and we're being stewards on other people's journeys. And that's really where we want to be. That's where the depth and the richness and the meaning comes from, the substance of life. Life can feel very hollow and very shallow and very empty when we stay in that ego-based place, excuse me, which is where work lives, the idea of work. And even in your jobs, whatever you do for your day-to-day jobs to bring income in, again, I encourage you there to think, how can I dig really deep and see the service in this? Someone might say, well, I don't really serve others. I bag groceries or whatever it is. But even in that, you can find the service. You can find the service because you're helping facilitate getting food to other people, getting food to other people's tables, and helping to establish connection and togetherness in their household. And you're playing a role in that. You're a link in that chain. So it just adds so much more meaning. And even in jobs where you might not feel like the actual task might not be fulfilling, look for the depth, look for the richness, look for the opportunity to connect with other people, look for the conversations, go deeper, ask deeper questions than, how are you or what are you doing the rest of the day? Really start to connect with people, because that's where the depth and the richness is. And I often say the jobs that we do on a daily basis, they're an opportunity to connect. They're a way for us to connect with the people who we're meant to be connected to. So again, start to look beyond, go deeper, and ask yourself those more introspective questions. And another personal example this is something that's near and dear to my heart, because it's something that I'm pouring so much of my energy into right now, is my book, for example. So my book, every author, when they write a book, isn't it every author's dream to be on the bestseller list? I mean, let's get real. That's like that would be such an amazing accomplishment. That said, though, I will say that's not where my energy comes from with this book. Every single day, and this book has taken a lot of effort on my part, on my team's part, between people helping do the cover and the layout and just getting this thing. We're so close. We're getting ready to launch it, but there's been so much effort put into this. But every hour that I put into this, none of those hours have actually felt like work, because I say to myself, just please help me get this book into the hands of those who need it. That's where my power or my motivation comes from, is the desire to help other people, the desire to transform lives. So it's not coming from a place of notoriety. It's not coming from a place of wanting external validation. It's not coming from a place of recognition. It's not coming from a place of being on some well-known list. It's simply coming from a place of wanting to help other people. And if it helps one person or 10 or 100 or 1,000 or whatever that number is, I just want this book to impact people's lives in a positive way. And that's where it's coming from. And I don't worry about the rest. Then the rest will follow suit. The rest will play out the way that it's supposed to play out. But I'm not coming at it from that place of that ego-based place. And that's really the difference. And that's what's fueled me this whole time. When I was writing the book, it took me a couple months to write. I mean, I was up crazy hours of the morning, and I just wasn't tired. I mean, yeah, I might have had some coffee here or there, but I was so fueled by this because as much as I poured into it, it fed me back. And it was this continuous loop of energy that was just ongoing. It just didn't stop. And it's because, again, I came from this place of the soul. And that's where I want all of you to get to. I mean, you don't get there overnight. And again, you don't have to do any mountain moving, life-changing initiative overnight, but just start to make the small shifts. It's all about the incremental changes that you start making on a daily basis that make all the difference. So get yourself in that place. Get yourself in that mindset of service. How is what I'm doing serving others? You're going to the gym, right? Working out, no big deal. How is that serving others? How is that serving yourself? While you're investing in your physical well-being, you're clearing your mind, etc. You're bringing a more energized, healthy person into the world to help other people. Excuse me. Still got these winter allergies lingering. Again, making dinner, things that you do on a daily basis. Just think about where the service component is. And I think you'll start to find that you automatically experience more enjoyment and more fulfillment and more satisfaction from activities that used to feel maybe a little bit more shallow or mundane. So again, excuse me. So just to recap, just a few reminders on certain questions you can ask yourself to get yourself into that mindset of service. So how does this add value? How is this bringing value into the world? How is this backed with love? How is it backed with kindness? How is it backed with humanitarianism? How is this infused with creativity? Creativity is a great way to be a service to other people because there we are directly drawing from universal energy. We are hooked into the energy of creation. How can I view this as a privilege rather than an obligation? And how can I think beyond this current task and see the broader, more long-term perspective? So hopefully those are just a couple ideas for helping you shift out of that work mentality into a mentality of service. I'm super excited about what I have planned this week. I have another Facebook Live planned for tomorrow, and I will be reading some excerpts from my book. And on Thursday, we have another Facebook Live planned where I will be talking about chakras. I know that a few people in the group were interested in hearing about that, and it's something that I think we're ready to start talking about. I had planned on talking about it for a while, but first wanted to ease in with a little bit of this energy talk, vibrations, the spiritual body. But I think you guys are ready. I think we're ready to tackle this. So I will look forward to talking about that on, I believe it's Thursday. So thank you very much for those of you who were able to tune in, and I will look forward to connecting with you throughout the rest of the week. Have a great week.